Hello everyone, I'm Christina, and this is my art journey in pattern design, illustration, and lettering. Welcome to Make Something Small. So I've spent the last few weeks getting the elements made in Procreate. This is Procreate for the Winter Without Snow collection. And you can see the camellias and stuff here, the pine straw or the pine needles, and the birds. And I've done these. There's several of them in different layers. So this is, well, that's my picture. That is one, and then I have this one. I did not use this one. I didn't like how that turned out. But, oh, well, that is the one. So, I don't know why all of these have turned dark. That doesn't make any sense. I've been trying to vectorize them, but, but this is how I drew them. So that's what I'm showing here in the gallery. And then what I've been doing is sending them over to Adobe Capture to vectorize and then putting them in Affinity. And I'm going to show you how I do that. It is difficult because it is tedious and can be very boring. And some of these flowers have like 4 or 5 layers to them. And I have to vectorize every single layer. So I'm going to go through one of the pine cones that I made. Okay. So this is one of the pine cones. And so in order to vectorize it, I started with, I took off the sketch. Well, no, I left the sketch on. So I had to start with, first thing is you have to make sure that these corners, these lines up here in the corners, that they're there, because that is going to make the SVG get the entire picture instead of just a part of it. I had to go back and redo some of these because I had forgotten to do those lines. And so that made it even more tedious that I had to go back and do that. So you have to start with each layer. So I'm starting with the sketch right there. And so you send a JPEG, you export a JPEG, and I'm saving the image. And then I go to the next layer. Turn off the sketch, go to the next layer. Each of these are going to be a different color once I get them into Affinity. And do the same thing again. JPEG, export, save image. Close that and go to the next layer. And yeah. So that is the next layer. JPEG. Save image. I'm assuming it did it. And now I've got to go, I have to turn off this clipping mask. And it's white. So I'm going to turn it, I'm going to turn these, I'm not on the layer. Okay. So, no, that's not. Okay. This is why it's okay. Alpha lock, and then do fill layer. Okay, there. Now I've made them gray. I had to remember how to do that. Okay, this is like my highlight on the on this pine cone. So I have to do the same thing again. JPEG, export, save image. Okay, so those are all of my layers, including the 4 corners of this pine cone, this open pine cone. All right. So now they are all saved, and then I'm going to go to Adobe Capture. And what I did is I made a library for each of the elements. Now that's not all of them that are in here because I've had to delete some of them once I got them into Affinity because my iPad is full. This is a 32 gig iPad, 8th generation. So I've had to delete some things once I get them backed up. I'm going to make a new library and I'm going to call it Pinecone Open. And this is just so I can keep all the parts together. So that's just how I do it to keep all the parts together. I'm going to import image from files. Okay. Where are you? On my iPad. Where did they go? Let me see if they are in photos. Import image from camera roll, but they're supposed to be SVGs, or well, they will be. Okay, here they are. So here's the sketch. Keep current selection. I like how it is. I don't have to do anything to it. It's under shapes already. I click that. Now this might close on me. It might freeze and close. This happens a lot. I'm going to say save. And I'm just going to wait for it. I'm not going to save anything else. I'm going to change this name to Pinecone Sketch. And I'm going to save. Okay, now I have that first part of the SVG. Then I can say import again, import image, camera roll. And here's the sketch again because it repeated it. So here's the next layer. I'm not going to do anything to that. Save. And see, it crashed on me. So I have to reopen it. It does this a lot. Open it. Import again. And just keep doing this. This is why I said it's tedious, because I've had to do this over and over and over for every single element. The next time I do this, for my next pattern collection for spring, I'm going to make the elements a lot simpler. I'm not going to worry with shading and anything like that. I'm probably not even going to color them. I'm probably just going to do that when I get to Affinity. I'm just going to do them in black and white. Pinecone layer 2. Layer 2. Okay, I'll try one more time to make A2. All right. All right. So now that is the second layer. Import image. Which one am I on now? Yeah, okay. See, now I'm getting lost. That was the one that I just did. That was the one I just did. So now I've got to do this one. So this is the main fill of the pine cone. Save. And it crashed on me again. This is just what happens. And you just go with the flow. Import. Import. Camera roll. Do something. Import image. Camera roll. Okay. Now this is going to be, these are the highlights, I believe, yes. So these, I'm going to have to make a little bit darker. And this is why I said I'm going to keep everything else simpler because I like the texture of it, the way it looks in Procreate. But once I get to vectorize it, you can't see it. And I can show you that with the birds I did. And so you have to make it darker, which means you lose shading and you lose any kind of filters you put on it. And so I'm just not going to do that the next time. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to save that for when I illustrate. If I'm just going to vectorize something, I'm just going to keep it simple and keep it in black and white. Change the name here. Pinecone layer 3. Save. Okay, so the filled part did not save. I don't have it on here. Okay. So I need to find that again. That would be this one. I got to do this one again. And it crashed again. Import, camera roll. Save it. Okay, so now I have all the parts of my pine cone. So now these are all SVGs. So now I go over to Affinity, and this is a Designer 2. I don't have the updated Affinity app. I have it on my computer, my desktop, but I'm still using Designer 2 on the iPad. I haven't even tried to use the new app yet. I'm still learning how to use this. Eventually I'll jump into that. So I've got my library here. And so I'm going to import. So open, import document on my iPad. Really? Oh, I missed a step. All right. So now I need to open each, because if I try to do it this way and say share and export, sometimes it doesn't work. So I have to open each one. So I open it. Again, tedious. Upload, export as SVG, save to files. Now it's going to save in my SVG folder. Save. So there's several steps, and if there's an easier way, I'd love to hear it. If you know an easier way to do this. Pinecone layer 2, save. Upload, export as SVG, save to files, save. Upload, export as SVG, save to files, and save. Okay, so now I have them all transferred over to my SVGs. And these are the birds I did. This is the SVG versions. And when you look at them in Procreate, these are like very watercolory like. Transparent, almost transparent. They're not opaque. I really like the texture, but I had to make this darker once I vectorized it. So that's why, again, I'm saying I'm keeping everything a lot more simple. Okay, so now I'm back in Affinity. So now I can do open, import document, SVG. It's got 4 items. I'm going to start with the pinecone sketch and open that. And then you have to back out. And then open again, import document, layer 2, and back out. Open, import document, the fill, and back out. Open, import document. These are the highlights, and then back out. So then I start with the sketch. This is going to be the one that I build on for everything else. I'm going to go over here to layers. I'm going to group the corners right there. Then I'm going to group these curves that make up the sketch, and I'm going to give them a color. So I'm going to go to my palette, and I'm going to give them this dark color. Or I might give them the dark brown. I think I might give them the dark brown color. So now everything on that layer, this is grouped, the four corners are grouped, the pinecone sketch is grouped, and it's been given a color so that I can see it. And this is what I'm going to build on. This is the one I'm going to build on. So then I'm going to go next to the fill. Now this has got a lot of parts to it. So I'm going to start with the curves. And I'm going to group the curve, no, not well, these are the lines in the corners. They say curves, but these are the lines in the corners. So I'm going to group that first. Then I'm going to go to the select tool. And I'm going to select the pine cone. Move this out of the way a little. Just going to select the pine cone here, like that. And so when you look now at all the layers, all of these other little pieces here have been selected. And I'm going to group them. And now I'm going to color this. And I'm going to color this. I'm going to look at my palette, and I'm going to color this dark color right here, this dark gray. And I will probably change that, but right now that's what I'm sticking with. Now I'm going to copy all of this. It's all selected. The three dot menu, copy, go out, go into my sketch layer. I went out. Sometimes you forget what you're doing when you go from Procreate to Affinity. Paste, and you see, because I have these lines on either side, all of the layers are going to line up on top of one another. They should line up on top of each other exactly the way they were in Procreate. And so you have the sketch, you have the fill that's in there. So now I'm going to go out again, and I'm going to go I'm going to take out the fill part here. I'm going to close that because I don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to do with my little outline. These are some extra outlines. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down here to the bottom where these four lines are. These are the four lines in the corners again. And I'm going to group those. Now those are grouped. I'm hitting the X on the bottom to deselect. And then I'm going to come over from the side and select just these curves here, these lines. These are all vectors now instead of raster, because Procreate's raster. And I'm going to group this. And then I'm going to give it a color. I'm going to give it this taupe color. And now I'm going to X again, and then I'm going to select all of it, including the lines in the corners. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go out to this one. This is the main one. And I'm going to paste. And now I've got my taupe colored highlights, some of the highlights right there. And again, it's right because I have the lines in the corners. Everything is lining up exactly the way it needs to. Then I'm going to go out one more time and get these little dots. I'm going to group the curves. I'm going to select just the dots, and I'm going to group all of them, and I'm going to give them this fog white color. And it's white, you can't see it, but they are there. You'll see it when they'll be when you add it to the pine cone. You'll see it then. So then I'm going to select all of it, copy, and go out, go to the main one again, three dot menu, paste, and there are my highlights right there. And if I don't like the white that's on there to be the highlights, I can go over here to the color. Well, it says there's no color right now, but I can go to the color and go to my this is my palette, and I can change it to this gray, and I can do that. Or I can go back to the fog white, or I can do this darker gray. So this is a gray green kind of a thing. And so I can color this way. They're all on different layers. And I have, this are the lines. This is one group of lines. This is a second group of lines. So now what I can do is take the group of lines and move it. This is another group of lines. I always like to check just to be sure I'm moving the right thing. You see, because that's one of the colors. That should be the last group of lines. Yes, it is. So I'm moving all of these down to the bottom. Come on, move. Sometimes it's finicky and doesn't want to move. There it goes. Okay, so now all of these at the bottom are the corners. The lines drawn in the corners. And so now I can take these four and I can delete them. And all that I'm left is the pine cone layers. Every single pine cone layer, starting from the sketch. And now I can copy this and put it in a pattern. So that's what I've been doing for like the past week and a half. And it is very tedious, and it can be very boring. And so now I have my full pine cone. I'm going to change the name here. Pine cone 2. And so you can see where I've done it earlier, but I have a little extra. I have a little bit more detail on this one, but this is the same one that I did earlier. And now I can delete this out. I can close that, and I can close that because I need some space stored up. And you can see where I have recolored my magnolia leaf, some of the camellias, and I have been working on patterns. This is my first, this is a stripe. Made just the camellia buds. These are actually diamonds. This is a diamond pattern. All of these, well, these are my camellia buds, and then the background behind it is all diamonds. So I've made that one. I made that one in dark, and I've made one in light. And then this is one I'm working on. These are actually 4 circles that I've hidden. They're now hidden once I I made ellipses in there to kind of give me guidance on where to put the parts, but now I've hidden those. And but I'm still working on this. I've got to make these lines meet, so I've got to heal those vectors. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put another camellia here or keep the magnolia leaf here. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. If I'm going to use different colors, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with that. So that's the next pattern that I'm working on within Affinity. I have Artboard 1 is my repeat, and then this is a preview board over here. And I learned how to do this with Liz Kohler Brown and her studio membership. And You can also look online, you can look on YouTube, and there's other videos on how to do that. So that is what I'm doing right now in Affinity. I am going to show these the finish patterns that I've made, as well as all of the motifs that I've uploaded. I'm going to put them in the video as well. So they're going to be after this part of the video. So thank you for watching.